All right, we're going to get started. Welcome to our Startup Showcase. We have 6 exciting companies who are going to present some very fascinating technologies to you. But before we get them on stage, I'm going to introduce our judges. We have a very esteemed panel of judges. When I say your name and title, just wave your hand for everybody in the audience. So we have Arvel Chappell III. He's a manager of emerging technology at Warner Brothers. We have Austin Clemens, who's a venture capitalist at 10110 Ventures. Jeff Rosenberg, who's the director of software development for reporting, analytics, and data science at Hulu. Levon Karayan, who's the senior director of engineering at the Walt Disney Studios. Paul Orlando, incubator director and adjunct professor of entrepreneurship at USC, our host. Subhash D'Souza, organizer at Big Day Today LA. And Trinh Nguyen, senior director of technology for E-Entertainment and at NBC Universal. Now I'm going to pass off the mic to our MC, Nick Riva, and he's going to talk a little bit about the companies and start calling them out.
Thanks very much, Jason. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our Startup Showcase. We're going to have a quick fire presentation by 6 startups. It's going to be 1 minute of introduction by myself for each startup, 5 minutes of their pitch, 5 minutes of deliberation by our esteemed judges, 3 minutes of questions from yourselves, and then we'll move on to the next one, okay? Just a little bit of background. I'm one of the security engineers at Snapchat. Hopefully I'm not going to disappear tonight as a ghost, and hopefully we'll have a great afternoon with the 6 startups we have. So to start, we're going to have Vinay join us from Mosaic. Vinay, can you please come to the front? Welcome, Vinay. All right. So, after a long career as a consultant, Vinay had a great idea. He said to himself, wouldn't it be great if there's a platform that can match live entertainers with demand, with customers who are looking to book a live entertainer, a musician for an event? Think of it as the Airbnb for live entertainment. All right? So with that, Vinay, give us a sense of your product.
All right. Can I use that? Yes. All right. Thank you, everybody. So as you can see, I am a performing musician. I actually was a little bit nervous about coming out here today. I had prepared this whole script and then realized the podium was going to be over there. So I'm going to have to run over there in a second, but my guitar is here just to help me feel a little bit more relaxed. My pitch today is about Mosaic. We are an integrated platform for the live music industry. What that means is we help artists getting gigs, promoting their brand, and selling tickets. Now, you're all probably aware the music industry is in dire shape right now, and we're not going to talk about why that is. We're going to talk about what is the opportunity for Mosaic to help independent artists have opportunities so that we can see the stars of tomorrow. So how we do this is by giving our users an integrated tool set for booking talent, promoting their brands, and driving ticket sales. We launched our site. Thanks. I'll hold this. Yeah, we launched our site in October 2017, and today we have about 2,000 users, and we're putting on shows that are typically of 150 to 2,000 audience attendance. So our booking platform works a little bit like a dating site where we match artist profile data to opportunities. So and we give the recommendations to the event planners,
Test. So do I swipe right for the one I like, or do I swipe left for the one I dislike, if I'm trying to match with you as an artist?
Okay, so it's actually more like if you were shopping on Amazon and you have a list of recommendations based on the criteria you're looking for. I'm looking for this artist, this genre, this distance of the zip code, and other criteria, and we produce the best recommendations. Now, what this does for the person that is putting on the event, this reduces risks for them in choosing the right artists that are gonna ultimately sell the best tickets and put on a good show, and it also saves them tons of time in the booking process, even days of time, as some of our users have stated. Some new features that we have in development, one is promotions. Now this is going to be a way for us to collaborate with our artists on building their online brands, managing their social media, doing ad buyings. The thing about artists is that although they all want to be stars, a lot of them are not really good at managing what they do as a business. So we have, we think, a unique set of services that can help them do that. And similarly, ticketing services will give our users the capability, meaning the venue, event organizers, and artists, to work together on promoting and selling tickets for an event, and then we'll also be able to handle the disbursements at the door. So in the end, what this means is a well-put-together show is a better user experience for the audience, and that just brings better returns for everyone. And Musaic is going to help our users realize this. So our core team is led by myself and two other music industry veterans, both with very interesting names. One is Gig Boss, who is a concert promoter in Southern California. The other guy likes to go by Catfish, and he's also a performing musician. Between the three of us, we also have expertise in financial services, software programming, SEO, and digital strategy. Currently, Musaic is also under the mentorship of TIE SoCal Labs, which is a startup incubator based here in Southern California. TIE is the largest entrepreneurial network in the world, and Musaic is one of only 8 companies accepted into their program run by the Southern California chapter. Thank you. So in terms of positioning, most of our competitors appear in the bottom right of this diagram with a focus on booking services, and their business model is mainly based on charging artist fees to apply for opportunities or to use their system. This didn't make sense to me because artists are the ones that have the least amount of money. So our plan to disrupt this business model was keep the site free of charge for artists to get gigs while monetizing high-value services for the venues, organizers, and dominate every space related to creating a live event. So the opportunity for Musaic is through native advertising, digital marketing services, and ticket sales. Just this month, we launched a native advertising engine on our site that will connect major brands to our users, such as Fender guitars. And ultimately, we'll also be able to extend that to even the concert goers when we are doing ticketing. For the promotional services, users will pay a base subscription for access to digital marketing services, and there are also 10 seconds. Oh boy. Our ask is for $500,000 in funding as a convertible note with a 3-year term, and this will have the option to convert to 15% equity. Thank you very much, everybody. And now I'm open to your questions.
All right, so for the next 5 minutes, the judges are going to deliberate the presentation that Vinay just gave to discuss the merits of this awesome opportunity.
Here we are. Thank you. So if I get it, it sounds like for this to be powerful, you need distribution, right?
Absolutely.
Both to the people who want to book the talent and also to the artists themselves.
Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit about what you do to get people to to know that this service is around, on both sides?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've created some relationships with venues in Southern California. I should mention that right now we're mostly focused in Southern California. We're just now expanding into Vegas. What we're doing is trying to create incentives for, or partnerships, I should say, with the concert promoters, where we'll attract a sponsor to them, or we'll even put some money behind a contest so that we can get our artists really great opportunities that drive signups, and that also, for the person doing the hiring, it's just like shopping in a supermarket. The more the shelves are stocked with inventory, being the artist, the better choices they have, and the quicker that they can choose the right person for their event.
So your service is a recommendation engine, but is there like a rating system, and is there a way to discover new talent? So for example, if you're looking, you'll see pictures. I'm just going to use a dating site example. You see pictures, but in a dating site example, you're judging by a visual. For musicians, you're judging by the artistry in their music. So is there, in the design of the app, is there a way to push a clip to see or to hear
Yeah.
a sample of their music? And is there like a rating system for people who've hired them in the past to rate the performances?
Right. So I should segment the user types that you might be talking about. One is the person doing the hiring, which is the event organizer, promoter, somebody who works for the venue. What they're going to be looking for, it's going to be very important for them to have a snapshot of who this artist is, be able to hear their music, see some live videos, not just their music videos, but how they perform on stage, because all this is important about the artists they're going to choose and the experience that they're going to create for the fans. So yes, we do try to boil that down into a rating system and say, based on the criteria you've specified, these are the 10 or 15 best matches for you to choose from. As far as the rating system, that's something that we definitely have planned. It's definitely been requested by both artists and by the event organizers. Once we have more data that we can make useful, we're going to turn that on.
Is there a plan, though, to get sentiment and sort of how many seats this artist can fill, that kind of data?
Yeah, absolutely. So without giving too much away of our secret sauce, but yeah, we do analyze a lot of, about 10 or 15 different elements in their profile, which they provide to us. Right now, we're working on social integration, so we can look at their fan engagement and demographics, and that'll also help to improve that outmatching algorithm to be able to make those recommendations.
Do you have a way, I guess, based on the last question before, to scale beyond? It seems like individual partnerships can only evolve so quickly in terms of your distribution. How would you plan to operate at massive scale across, the country?
Absolutely. I think at some point it's going to make sense for us to strategically partner with other sort of parallel services in our industry, and thereby we can both benefit on growing our user base and also fast expansion.
To be acquired by one, or?
That's a possibility, but I would like to do this for as long as I can. So yeah, the strategic partnership would be immediately very interesting to me. Yeah.
Who's determining the pricing for the platform, for the artist, how much they charge? Do you give guidance on that?
Yeah, I mean there are some benchmarks of similar services out there, but for us, it's about determining what is the time savings to you, what is the value to you, how much would you pay for it? We don't have any problem asking.
I'm sorry, like
artists,
for the
right?
individual is every artist that I book going to charge me the same rate? Or?
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, a lot of the smaller venues, even up to like House of Blues size, if there was an opening act for a very large artist, there might be a structure where they're required to sell a certain number of tickets. So that's what we're trying to determine is how likely are they to sell not just that minimum amount, but can they go over it, and is everybody going to benefit from that?
Just quick thing. So,
Yes.
talk to me about Ticketmaster and Live Nation.
Right.
I mean, I'm assuming they're going to be your competitor.
Well, they're in a kind of a different space. Again, we mostly work with independent artists, independent promoters, and venues, maybe House of Blues size and smaller. So, yeah, we're not really encroaching in that space.
In that space, okay.
Yeah.
Are you imagining the primary revenue model to be from a portion of the bookings, or is it also what's the proportion between
Yeah.
advertising and bookings and influencing whether a particular artist gets recommended?
Yeah, it will be a combination of advertising, subscriptions to access some of our services, and then a service fee that we'll be able to charge on the individual ticket purchase. The ticketing service itself will be free of use to our users, but we'll make a little bit in processing that and being able to give them that service.
Can I sneak one out in at the end here? Minimum guarantees for artists, can you
Yes.
handle those?
Well, yes. I mean, really, that's set by the person that's doing the hiring. So that's part of, and that's actually one of the criteria used in one of our matching algorithm, to determine what is the artist minimum guarantee, what is the promoter willing to pay. And if there's a mismatch, it doesn't mean we disqualify that artist. We just kind of flag it so that both parties know this is a negotiation.
They swipe right, I swipe left.
That's right, they swipe right. Next, we have 3 minutes quickly for questions from the audience about
All right.
Mosaic.
Yes, please.
Please go ahead.
How many artists are in the platform right now? There are 2,000 artists. Most of them are in California, and as I mentioned earlier, we just started expanding into Las Vegas. For us, we hit kind of a big milestone in just this last quarter. It took us about, from the time we launched in last October to build, to get 100 artists to sign up, it took about 6 months, and just in the last quarter, that number doubled, so we're pretty proud of that. No, they sign up free. They sign up free, and in about a month's time, they're going to be able to, even use their Facebook to log in and even create part of their profile.
For the next question, if you could please stand up and actually use the mic so the rest of the audience can hear your question. Thank you.
How do you see yourselves against like Airbed and Breakfast concerts or Livestream Connect or one of those services?
So for us, that is a potential sponsor in the future. So or even in the present. So the live music industry in the US alone is total $9 billion. $2 billion of that comes from sponsors. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, they just seem like competing services.
Not necessarily. I mean, our job is to create a platform that makes hiring, promoting, and ticketing easier, better, faster, all of the above. So, yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but so I think it's a really great idea. I myself am a musician.
Awesome.
But yeah, there you go. But one potential problem I could see would be like kind of a bottleneck effect where there would be far more musicians than venues on the site. Is that something that might be true? And if so, like what countermeasures could you see yourself taking so that like there's not a musician on there who goes like 3 years without booking a...
That's a great point. Yeah, it is kind of on us to, again, attract the right sponsors that can, keep this engine afloat. So, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions from the audience? Question in the back. Can you please stand up and go to the front so we can hear your question?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first question is, what is our rollout strategy? It's a combination of relationships and a lot of marketing. Getting a few venues signed up, posting a few gigs gives us the avenue, or the window rather, to just do a lot of social media ads or marketing to artists and say, here's some great opportunities, sign up for free, let's get going. We're also developing a program to turn some of those people that are key relationships in these markets into brand ambassadors, so they can earn a little bit, for doing that, or for playing that role. Plus, it gives us the ability to expand much quicker. Thanks.
Thank you, Vinay.
Yeah.
One last one.
Thank you, everybody.
So.
Okay, next we're going to have Renee with AR Wall. Renee, please come to the front. Hi, Renee, welcome. All right, do you have any laptops? Okay, great. All right, so believe it or not, but the film industry spends billions of dollars creating visual effects each year, and predominantly this is still done using green screens based on the market data. So Renee's company, AR Wall, built a product called AR Effects that allows you to build spatial imaging technology based on in-camera composites with AR set extension. So this use case applies to the motion picture industry, interactive experimentals, and also location-based amusement, where I guess you can visualize a location or an experience based on a visualization using a LED wall style technology. So Renee will give you his pitch. Again, we'll have 5 minutes of pitch. We'll have 5 minutes of judge questions. We'll have 3 minutes of audience questions, and then move on to the next startup. Thank you.
Hello. So as you said, my name is Renee Amador. I'm the co-founder, CEO, and president of AR Wall. We're a Los Angeles-based AR technology company. And as you said, we're here to basically get rid of green screen. We're also doing large-scale augmented reality illusions for brands. We won the South by Southwest Accelerator earlier this year, named Top AR/VR Startup of 2018. We were also had a nice write-up from the International Cinematographers Guild and by BBC News, where they basically called us an update to rear projection and potentially the end of green screen. Most of you, some of you might have heard of us from a viral video that went viral earlier this year called How We Killed the Green Screen. And we've got 3 patents pending at the moment. So this is what we're talking about. This is the problem right now. And a lot of people don't know that about half, somewhere between 50 to 70% of blockbuster budgets are spent on this green screen visual effects process. So if you were to imagine something that is going to come next that's better, it would have to be an industry-wide disruption capable of serving indies as well as big blockbusters, which is what we've done. So we call this the AR wall effect system. And what we have here is instead of a green screen wall, we use a large LED video wall. And then we track the motion of the camera. And in real time, it updates the background to make it look like a window into the virtual environment. So this is, before I show you the actual illusion, this is what it looks like from a third person's perspective. So you can see the operators moving. Behind me there's an LED video wall. And it updates in real time as it moves. So just to be clear, LED video walls, this is an established technology in filmmaking, and studios often already own these. What we do is we take that same screen and we add depth, parallax, full explorability, reusability, and it's a window into this virtual environment. So essentially what we're talking about here is in-camera effects with physical photons spilling onto the actors, onto the sets. This is a cheaper, better, faster way of doing these virtual productions. So what the heck do we do? So we license and rent the systems to productions, sound stages, studios. We license pre-built stock scenes to them. And we also can operate and make the content for them. So the big key takeaway here is we're going to save about 40% off of effects budgets, and months of post-production just gets eliminated. So we have clients. Our first project was a big AAA space sci-fi for a major studio, and we also do experientials for some events as well. This May, we launched a pilot program. We got over 70 signups. Most of those are here in LA. As you can see, there's some big names up there. So we were entirely founder-funded for 14 months before we got any revenue, which is earlier this year. So in 2017, basically we're failing, building, filing patents, and hiring a bunch. In the first half of this year, we had tremendous success. As I mentioned, we have our first studio project. We won the South by Southwest Accelerator. Most importantly, we did 800 demos here in Culver City. We just closed a seed round on Tuesday, so that's new. And so now we're hiring here in LA. And over the next year or so, you're going to see AAA footage of what we've done released. You're also going to see some international partnerships in 5 regions, as well as an interactive offering. So what do I mean by interactive? I'm talking AR without the goggles. No headset, no smartphone. It just works on a screen. So this is some of the offerings we've already been making to brands and agencies. So we're talking about single screen experiences or single player for theaters, malls, hotels, and then multiplayer experiences for your bigger like conventions, launches, premieres, that type of stuff. And yeah, obviously spectators can look at these and have fun as well. We've already been doing some branded video selfie walls. This is something we've been up to, and we see this expanding into multi-room experiences, either for pop-ups, conventions, video arcades, whatever. So we've got a diverse team here of people. This is combined 82 years of experience creating high-end illusions for film, TV, and games. And those brands at the bottom are prior brands and companies that we've worked with. Will over there is a USC alumni, which is one of the reasons we're here. So that's it, guys. If you're interested in chatting with me, definitely approach me after the show, and happy to chat with you.
Thanks very much, Renee. Next, we'll have 5 minutes of questions from the judges.
Sweet. I guess I'll go over here.
Sure. So how do you plan, for your different revenue models, how do you plan to scale the production side of things, or do you think that the licensing of will sort of outpace that traffic.
Yeah, so we're definitely already seeing that licensing is outpacing. We have interest in 5 different regions around the world. These are not just people that want to have a cool thing, but actually want to be able to be a layer in the production of that, either deployment or the creative or both. So we're partnering with studios, immersive agencies, and then also like events companies and venues and that type of stuff.
If you think 3 years out, do you think that the installations, out-of-home experience is going to be a larger part, or on the film production side?
So we're seeing them being pretty equivalent. The motion picture effects stuff, we start off slow, but then once people see what we're doing, I think it's going to change. It's going to cause a ripple effect in the industry. We're being cautious on the hardware play of like going out and doing deployments in arcades and stuff like that. So we're definitely seeing it's going to be a split between the two. And I think looking maybe past the 3 years, potentially getting into the living room is ultimately the goal of the interactive platform.
As you start to get more into the film industry and more of the production, one of your models showed that you have supervisors and operations and tech people on scene that you actually will rent out for production. So have you looked at basically how that will play in with the budget splitting that traditionally goes to more of the union-based jobs that are in the film industry?
Yeah, so if you remember the titles of some of those people, the titles are selected especially to get around some of the union rules. So we're not calling them certain types of things, calling them other types of things like supervisor and stuff like that. So that allows us to get around it. We haven't had any issues on the union projects we've been on so far.
Thank you.
Maybe not so wise person once told me that every new technology advance in film production starts with the adult industry. Is that the case for you?
The short answer is no, but that doesn't mean that we're kicking them out of bed, as it were.
Good answer.
Does the rendering happen only on that initial phase, or does it also do a subsequent rendering at a higher quality once it's been recorded?
Oh, that's interesting. So, the full resolution and quality of the scene that you see in the footage is what we generally is used on production. Now, most of this stuff that we shot is on consumer-grade cameras and stuff like that, so that might be what you're seeing. But the production also has the option to delete the screen and do the re-render of the CG assets afterwards if they choose so.
And is that all that metadata kept to make that process easy subsequently?
Yeah, so there's 2 things that we do. We record the camera motion tracking data, and then we also have a depth map, which basically allows you to make that easy fix and post.
Yeah, I think to +1 on that, being marketable as well, you could resell the data related to the productions back to companies such as ours or Netflix or others who are interested in that kind of data.
Cool. Sounds like we should have a conversation.
The 50 to 70% of the budget, I guess, of the blockbuster budget that I guess you're attacking, can you talk a little bit about what is that comprised of, and then what piece do you replace? Like, is that mostly labor? Is that like,
Yeah, so it goes everywhere from what's called pre-visualization, which is what you do before the production to make sure that you're composing the shots correctly if you have a monster or something like that in the frame. And then it goes, so we help eliminate there. We eliminate the entire process of post-visualization, which is basically rough keys for the benefit of the editor, audio people, that type of stuff. And most of what people spend on is 2 things. One, the creation of the CG assets, which we help on that end, but that's not what we're attacking the most. Mostly what we're attacking is the visual effects compositing, chroma keying, and roto process. So this is one of the layers that is pretty unsexy in the film industry, but it's actually where a lot of people enter into the visual effects industry and where they spend a lot of time. Over 10, 15 years people spend doing this type of stuff. And, none of them are necessarily thrilled that they're painting out hair frame by frame from a green screen. So, those people want to be doing other stuff. And yeah, and we're cutting those people out of the filmmaking process. We're bringing a bunch of them onto set so they can actually speak directly with the director and actors and everyone on set. And yeah, so that's where we're cutting in.
Okay, and so it's also speed. as well. You're cutting the time down.
Absolutely. So speed is the number one. So, a visual effects shot, if it's very difficult, it can take anywhere from 1 day to 5 days, something like that. So it's a very expensive process.
Great, guys. Thank you very much. We're going to take 3 minutes of questions from the audience. Remember, if you have a question, please stand up and go to one of the mics so the room can hear your question.
All right. Any questions? One over here. What's up?
So I'm kind of curious on like the IP side of things. Like what prevents like Adobe from building something into the cloud? Because Perspective AR, I've seen done a couple places, especially with like facial recognition, facial map.
Yeah. So what the heck are we doing that's special, right? So when we first got into this process, my background is I'm a commercial director. I've directed 350 commercials, short films, and pilots over the past 2 decades. And we initially thought, okay, we're just going to go out and license something like this already exists. We're just going to do it. And so what we went out and saw is that the speed, the input lag from motion to photon of the time that the camera moves to where you can update the display, that hadn't been solved yet. You were looking at anywhere from 4 to 11 frames of latency. So 1 frame of latency is unusable. So what we've done that's special is we've actually taken this entire tech chain, spatial computing, whatever you want to call it, and looked at every single piece from a physics-first mentality and gone, okay, what can we actually remove here that is adding, in many cases, hundreds of milliseconds, and just get rid of that, or use a different alternate part, or a different cable, or different processor, whatever, and just going through that entire process. So nobody's done that before. So we got under 42 milliseconds. So for 24 frame per second shooting, that means that in the time that the shutter opens and closes, we've already updated the display. So from the camera's perspective, it's effectively zero latency. That's not the type of thing that other people have gone out and solved. So we got that patent pending right now.
Other questions?
Okay.
Can I ask a question since we got one?
Yeah,
more?
please go ahead.
So what can a green screen do that your technology cannot do right now?
I'm sorry.
Like what are the limitations of the technology of your AR wall right now? Like what can I do with a green screen that I can't do with yours? Is there
what can we not do?
What cases are not ideal?
So one of the limitations that we have right now is because the LED screens need to be set up. Exterior shoots are a little bit more rough, and because obviously you need a flat surface and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely say, anything in studio, we're nailing it. If you need to go outside, which green screen is used in exteriors and stuff like that, that might be a better option.
How about like spherical walls or anything like that? Or
so we can do curved multi-screen, spherical screen domes. We're actually getting quite a bit of interest for full domed and half domed experiences for just like concerts and stuff like that. It's just interesting.
Who are your major threats right now?
There are some awesome companies working in I'm sure you're familiar with holographic performers, some dead celebrity gets recreated into a hologram. Those companies are doing something similar than we are, but they're mostly focused on lenticular, which is the key difference.
Would you consider unions and production workers to be on the list of angry people who might be disrupted?
Not necessarily them, but let's just say we have some rough conversations with visual effects companies whose bread and butter is green screen. Yeah.
Okay, that's all the time we had for questions for now. Thank you so much, Renee.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right, next we're going to have Grant from Fanchise, shifting gears a little bit and talking about a fan-controlled football league. This sounds really cool. Grant, can you come to the stage? All right, Grant, here's a mic for you. All right, so really new concept, a fan-controlled football league where you, the fan, are put in control of the plays and the interaction. And Grant's going to tell us a little bit more about that.
I'd love to. Do I get a clicker? Who wants a football? Anyone up there deep? Who's deep? Let's go Sam Darnold deep, right? Get up there. Well, so that's part of my problem. I'm not much of a football player, but I like it. I like watching it. So we are Fanchise, and we call the FCFL. And the premise of what we do is that we believe that the future of sports and entertainment is interactive. We're a bunch of big sports fans. So before we get into what we're doing for it, let's see what it's like to be a sports fan right now. Any audio?
You don't throw a pass when you have Marshawn Lynch.
What was that?
You do not throw a pass at the goal line when you have Marshawn Lynch.
So that's obviously a disgruntled Seahawks fan watching Super Bowl 49. As a Niner fan, I love it. But we've all been there, right? Anyone who's a sports fan knows what that's like. Watch your favorite team. They don't do what you want. You go furious. So we felt the same way and thought, well, why don't we put the fans in charge? So a couple years ago, we bought an arena football team, and we literally did that. We let the fans decide everything. They picked the location, Salt Lake City. They named the team the Screaming Eagles. They designed the logo. They helped pick the cheerleaders. They hired the coach after we live-streamed interviews. They picked the players. And then on game day, they actually called the plays in real time, just like a game of Madden. And it worked really well, like really, really well. In the league we played in, most teams average about 1,000 to 1,500 streams a game. We averaged 100,000. Our team had the third-rated offense, which as an expansion team is really good comparatively, like most expansion teams are terrible. Our quarterback won Rookie of the Year, and actually, once we got rid of our team, we'll get to that in a minute, the best team in the league took him on as their quarterback. That's how well he had done. So we realized what we realized through that proof of concept was that there was a real appetite for this idea of interactivity. But why just be one interactive team playing against a bunch of regular teams? We create a whole league. So we're creating the FCFL, which will kick off in May of next year. And it'll start with 8 teams, all run by the fans, all played in a central location. It's like combining esports and Madden with actual real life. We've partnered with IMG, who's our production partner, and we sold the streaming rights to the first 2 seasons already to Amazon Twitch. We've also built out all of the voting mechanism onto the blockchain. And you're going to think that's just us stuffing in a buzzword. We'll get to that in a minute. And our partner on that front is New Alchemy, which is a leader in blockchain technology. So to give you a quick idea of it, this isn't just traditional football. It's really football reimagined for a more modern digital experience. So instead, last year we played in an arena of 10,000 people, had to deal with selling tickets. Half our games are at home, half were on the road. We had to travel to Spokane and Green Bay and all these other obscure cities. We said, do away with all that. We play in one facility. It's like a production studio, centrally located, all 8 teams. All 8 teams have their own team captain you build brand identity around. Fans follow the team that they associate the most with, like golf or tennis or NASCAR. Your favorite player isn't necessarily someone who's from your hometown. Fans are in tokens, so there's a competition for the fans here, not just the players. And it's fast, 1-hour, highly interactive games. We want to take it even further and make it as immersive as possible, short of letting guys like me who have no arm actually step on the field. So last year we experimented with drone cams and helmet cams. This season every player will be wearing wearables, so the data that is being recorded on those players is fed live to the fans who are actually making decisions, right? A guy starts wearing down and going slower, he's tired, get him out of the game. Or our quarterback's dragging, his arm's hurting, start handing the ball off more. It's utilizing data from the field of play in with the decision making. So back to that blockchain note. Last year, one of the votes we had was whether or not we should bring Greg Hardy onto our team. Greg Hardy was an elite NFL D lineman who got into a lot of personal issues off the field, and as such had been blackballed from the league. He wanted to come play for us and rehab his image, so we let our fans vote. 50.01% voted no. The 49.9% were madder than that guy in the beginning. Because you imagine if you actually thought you were in control and you wanted this guy on your team and now he's not, they cried foul and said it was BS and said it was all publicity stunt. Swear, Scout's honor, it was totally real. So we realized that using blockchain or distributed ledger technology to enable us to actually make voting transparent is critical if you're trying to build a community where the fans really are in charge and need to feel like they are. The beauty of this is that we're just starting with football. And football just happens to be a sport that we all like, even if we're not very good at it. Well, one of my co-founders is from the NFL. He's pretty good at it. But the rest of us aren't. And we realize that there's an opportunity that can expand to sports globally. To give you some perspective, more people watch the World Cup than Christians. All of Christians, all of Christianity, more than there are people in China and India combined. It's pretty massive. So I'm going to leave you with what it's like to run a team and have the fans call the plays and experience it.
Another one of our offensive coordinators up here. This is Ben. This is Noel. 4th down, big play. What are you calling it?
I'm going to pass. We still got 11 yards to go. I don't want to see him kick yet. I want to see him pass it in.
And this is a real play from our season last year.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty encouraged. Fans are doing pretty well to get a couple good drives in there. We're getting better.
All right, Ben and Noel, thanks very much. Enjoying the game in 1:17. Let's see this 4th down.
Screaming Eagles going for it here.
Verlon Reed drops back, lots of pressure, looking deep into the end zone. Touchdown!
How cool is that?
What a great fan play call. What a great fan play call.
What a great fan play
Darwin
call.
Lauderdale again.
That's one happy man.
There you go.
Grant, thank you very much.
Yeah, sure thing.
Let's pivot to 5 minutes of questions from the judges.
Yeah, well, so it is, we always say it's like Madden, but you don't physically control the player's movements, right? So what we do is the fans don't get to make any decision, right? My grandma can't go on the field, right? You can't call a punt on first down. We let the fans make the decisions that a regular coach or GM would make. So like in that play call, for example, it was 4th down. There was probably 4 options. One was a field goal, one was a punt, and there were 2 passing options because it was 4th and long. There's an algorithm that runs based on every play and every decision, multiple choice. So the fans chose to call a pass there. And then, of course, the quarterback, once that play gets called in, he can do whatever he wants. And our quarterback actually was a very mobile quarterback. So as a result, he very frequently would be a pass play and would break down, or he'd put his head down and he'd run and get first down. And if he does, you get the points because you called the play, even if it wasn't executed the way you said it should be. Because if you were the head coach and your team wins, it doesn't matter, you get the credit for it.
You mentioned expansion to other leagues. They don't have the same pace as football, with plays called in between like that.
Yeah, so what we're building from a technology perspective, and there's really almost 2 parts to our business. There's the league and entertainment and football side of it, and there's the actual, we call franchise, there's the technology platform. And the point of the platform is, although we're taking a very extreme approach to the implementation of it, it's really meant to be a way for a fan community to engage and be rewarded and compete to be fans, right? To be the top fans. And so there's levers, right? And levels to how much you want to have. I'm a huge Warriors fan. Basketball's not a great sport for letting fans call certain things, and I'm quite certain Steve Kerr is never going to let me decide if Steph or KD should get the ball in the last shot. But there's a whole lot of things they could do to test my knowledge, engage me as a fan. And if the reward wasn't that I got to call the final play, but it was that I got to hand Steph the ball that he shot out of the tunnel before the game, that'd be pretty awesome for me.
So, just quick question. I mean, what happens if the opponent knows your plays? I mean, isn't it always, you want to avoid your opponents from finding out your plays?
Yeah, it's an issue of speed, of getting the plays in. And to be honest with you, especially at this level of football, and even NFL, most guys who actually play in it will tell you that most all teams, although they have what appear to be very large playbooks, there's a very fairly limited set of plays. It's just different ways they line up on which side of the ball for the plays. So for us, it's not that big of a deal because by the time the play call, what happens is when it's play calling specifically, there's a coach on the sideline who's seeing the live stream results. He calls the play into the quarterback. So yes, if the other team was somehow sniping it and observing it, the time it takes for them to get that into the defense, have them understand it and call it, they're more likely to hear the quarterback's cadence calling at the line than they are to actually make a big difference for them.
Is Twitch going to promote the league,
Yes.
or is it?
Yeah. So the term, well, we don't make all the terms of our Twitch deal public. Twitch is a small equity partner in the league. They have bought the streaming rights, and that comes with a sizable amount of guaranteed promotion across the platform.
And how else are you going to promote the league?
Yeah, so great question. There's a whole lot of things we have to do, and I think the important, and I didn't really put a good slide in there about this, is the team captains. So the idea is that each of the 8 teams has a fairly well-known team captain. 4 are going to be current and former NFL players. No USC guys, actually. The other 4 are pretty well-known people from the world of music and entertainment that are all big football fans, right? So each of them takes an equity position in their team and then uses their reach to get their fans and their audience involved. And I think between the 8 that we have lined up, I think we'll have a pretty darn good ability to get a big voice. And then the other thing that we have not publicly announced in here is our venue is in Las Vegas, and it's in partnership with one of the major casino groups there. The venue only holds about 1,000 people, so our fan reach that we care about is really the digital audience, but part of that agreement is also, promotion on the Strip and inclusion in all their promotion and marketing materials. In terms of getting the hype and awareness, I'm not overly concerned for us at this stage.
What have other indoor football league, what did they do wrong to where they haven't?
Yeah, great question. Really good questions. There's a few things that we learned in our league last year. One of the biggest things is that unless you have a massive 30-plus team national footprint and national television, it's really difficult to get national sponsors. So what you end up having is, our league last year had 10 teams. it was basically 10 individual businesses. There was really no league cohesion. So each of us had our own business. And we really only each made money 8 days a year, our 8 home games. Our 8 away games, we were paying. We were paying $30,000, $40,000 to ship all these people, all these in buses and planes to Spokane and Green Bay and Omaha and all these other cities, which is like a guaranteed bad business model is you can only make money 8 days a year, and the rest of the year you have a bunch of costs. That's just never gonna work. So that's why for us, it was all about let's streamline that. And then I also think Arena specifically other than like the field, hasn't really differentiated from traditional sport enough from the game. For us, again, it's really about a fast-paced fan activity. We care much more about a digital and streaming audience, which costs us far less to support than being in an arena of 10,000 people. It costs a lot more to maintain. And having everyone in one single place, centralized resources, the revenue we have to make per team to be profitable is far less than you have to in the other leagues. And then you have the ability to sell more interesting sponsorships to the streaming partner.
All right, guys, thank you so much. We're going to move to audience questions next. 3 minutes for audience questions. Again, if you have a question, please stand up to the mic. Can you please walk up to the mic so everybody can hear you? Thank you.
Great question. So the fans get to decide. So this week, one of the ones that I've liked that we've been playing around with, does anyone watch the TBT, the basketball tournament? Anyone know what that is? All right, so it's a basketball tournament going on right now where it's like former NBA guys and good college guys playing whatever. They do this thing called an Elam ending, which is actually named after a professor at college who thought the end of basketball games is really boring because in games that are blowouts, there's either they put in the scrubs and you just got to play a few minutes, or there's a lot of intentional fouling to extend the game. So they do in the Elam ending is inside 4 minutes, after the first stoppage of time, they add 7 points to the team with the lead, they turn the clock off, and it's whoever gets to that score first wins. I think that's fascinating, and I actually want us to experiment with the idea of making ours a first to a certain score. So let's say our score is 35, and there's a running hour clock. It's either whoever has the lead at the end of an hour or first to 35. Now think about what that means. It means that we're not gonna have kicking in our league. Kicking's gone, it's too dangerous, and it's a pain in the butt, and it just slows everything down. So think about what that means. That means that the vast majority of our games will end on a touchdown. You can watch a whole NFL season and only see a couple of games in regulation end on a Hail Mary or a touchdown at the final second. It's the most exciting games of the year. So we can actually take rules and adapt them to make our game even more exciting. Sorry. Someone else, go ahead.
Hey,
and you're supposed to come to the microphone next time.
Thank you. I like your idea very much. And I want to stay at a high level as this is a new business. So how you want to make sure the scalability into other sports field like basketball or soccer ball. And then question number 2, also how you want to maintain competitiveness in terms of this kind of fan-controlled business in the future in sports.
Yep, sure.
Thank you.
So yeah, for the first, I think there are certain sports that it lends itself to better than others. Baseball, cricket, situational sports. There are some soccer that, I joke about the size and the scale of it, but it's always going to be a challenge. But it'll depend on the things that we actually make. Play calling is what everyone gravitates to, but really that's just one of the small amount of decisions that fans make over the course of a season for us. Number 2 is competitiveness. We have the same rules in terms of competitiveness on the field as anybody else, right? There are windows for trades, and there will be a draft and all those sort of things. The difference, I guess, would be that if one set of fans was better at calling plays than another, or better at making decisions than another, their team would be better. But that's no different than Bill Belichick is a heck of a lot better coach, or Pete Carroll is a much better coach than somebody else, right? There you go. SC shout out for you.
All right, one more quick question.
You've talked a lot about this as a new experience in sports, but occurs to me that fantasy leagues have been, and you mentioned this at the beginning, been growing and become bigger than the games themselves in some cases. How could you talk about this as an evolution of what the fantasy trend has brought?
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, that is, you've hit the nail on the head for why we think the business makes sense. There are so many people who follow football purely for fantasy, and this is our original tagline we don't use anymore, is making fantasy a reality, because the whole idea is to take it, fantasy and Madden, right? The idea that you can actually play and control it. It's almost the bridging of those two and providing an interactive sports experience, which I don't think that's really a debate. Like anyone who doesn't think that sports entertainment is going to be more and more interactive with its consumer, I think you're just wrong at this point.
Great, thank you very much. Franchise.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
All right, next we're going to have MVP cast. We're going to have Sergey and Dave join us on stage.
Good afternoon, everybody. MVP Cast is an all-in-one youth sports media platform. Just quick show of hands, how many of you at some point participated in youth sports at some point in your life, Pee Wee soccer, whatever it was. How many of you know somebody that was in youth sports? We virtually all know someone that's close to us that's engaged in youth sports. Statistics that 83% of US executives participated in youth sports at some point. Youth sports has been growing rapidly. I don't have the clicker. You got it? Okay. All right, thanks. Give me the, yeah. The youth sports industry in 2017 surpassed $15 billion, making it $1 billion bigger than the NFL. Youth sports media, on the other hand, has a lot of catching up to do. You know, we see live streaming everywhere. We see Periscope, Facebook, YouTube, but watching sports without a score is not that interesting. And youth sports participants and their followers require a lot more from a media platform. There's $3 billion of scholarships at stake, so it's not just fun and games anymore. If you wanted to do all the things that you need to do, in terms of capturing the live stream, capturing the video, creating highlights, creating player stats, team stats, profiles, all these things, you need multiple types of equipment, potentially expensive video equipment. You need different computer platforms, different software platforms, live streaming platforms, file sharing platforms, and that's just beyond the pale for most parents and coaches. Parents are already busy toting their kids around, and usually busy kids in sports have very busy parents who often can't get to games, and not only want to share that experience with their relatives, but they want to leverage that experience for their kids. Coaches often don't have this know-how, and they want to be able to help the kids develop through these kinds of tools. So the current set of disparate tools and services just don't meet the needs of parents, players, coaches, recruiters in a way that's affordable, accessible, and easy to use. MVP Cast, all we need is a phone. And we have everything we need for youth sports media. We have live streaming with live scoring, with live stats that automatically capture highlights for the team and for the player. We have the ability to go back and do video editing. We have a complete history of a team, a game, a league, and at the end of a career, a young person from any demographic has a professional level profile for recruiting into colleges. We level the playing field for kids of any demographic. Additionally, not only are we integrating these components, but with that integration, we're taking them to the next level. Through that integration, we now have a tool that's easy to use for the parents, for the coaches, for the recruiters, for integration with other B2B platforms that may want to leverage this platform, and just enhancing the entire experience for all those involved and meeting the goals and the needs of each of these parties. So to monetize, it's a subscription-based service. So we have league leaders inviting coaches, coaches inviting parents and kids, parents and kids inviting friends and family. We'll additionally have the ability to buy additional features, additional services. We'll have targeted ads. So in the course of an event, there's logical downtime. So instead of staring at a live stream of an empty court, we can have highly targeted ads and commercials. This is a natural video recruitment platform. So our idea there is that we just make this a free recruitment platform for colleges and universities in order to draw users onto the platform and draw coaches and draw players and draw parents. MVPcast.tv allows organizations to selectively have pay-per-view events. So if it's a major event from a major high school, they can actually generate revenue from that event for their organizations. Also, we see MVP Cast TV as a potential way to transform the way youth sports is consumed, and in fact, in the way many sports are consumed. So, massive market, 60 million participants globally, 36 million of those participants are in the US. Everybody has the equipment with 2 billion smartphones out there. We estimate a total addressable market of about 70 million. Youth sports federations, club leagues, public and private high schools, all make easy access to market, and we've begun that process. So where are we? With founder funding, with angel funding, we kind of flipped the script here, and we decided that instead of launching a company and then figuring out what the product needs to be, and then figuring out how we're going to build the product, we actually built a scalable product that meets the market needs, and now we're pushing that out to the marketplace. We've started, just recently released the production version of the application. We've got major sports federations. We did a POC with the 2018 Junior Olympics just a couple of months ago. It's available on Google Play and the App Store. And we've got some major club leagues that are starting to push this out into their organizations. And we've got a lot of coaches that are waiting for their seasons to begin to be able to push this out to their players and parents. We're going to show a quick video of the application and walk you guys through some of the features. So this is a production application. It's all set, full featured, and deployed. This is an example. We're going to see an example of the 2018 Olympics. It's on a huge screen, but HD quality with the scoring. The Cozy Boys actually won the 2018 Junior Olympics in water polo. This screen shows us how the user-generated content can do scoring. They can be creating the highlights, gaining the stats, those generating live video highlights that are not only going into the team stats, but they're also going into the player stats. So users in the audience are simply, if they're following their player, they're putting those stats into play. They can see what's happening with that particular event. They have a complete history of the statistics for that team. That's a particular player history. That player has the video highlights that identify the highlights for each of the stats in their profile. We can follow sets and look at an entire set history, and then we have this entire match and the history of that match, the stats for each game, the stats for each player, ready to go immediately following the event. During the games, coaches can look at those highlights at halftime and help improve the coaching on the players, improve the players' play. This provides a complete library where you can go back and retroactively go back and do video editing. We've got all of the video history, so massive amount of video files that are being managed in the cloud and accessible players, parents, and coaches, and don't have to mess with any of that.
Dave, thank you very much. We'll take 5 minutes of judge questions.
You gonna get that mic? Can you grab that
So
mic?
how do you ensure the data integrity when it comes to the statistics, since it's all user?
It's data integrity, data security.
Well, not data security, but just the, so if you're at an event and it's an amateur event.
Yeah, user-generated content, so somebody could push a stat that actually didn't happen. So that's going to create a highlight clip that shows that nothing happened. So if you're a player and you want to go use those clips later, you know, they're not going to be very valuable to you.
Well,
so you'd be able to verify that that stat is actually accurate based on the highlight that was collected at the time of the stat.
Yeah, the parents can create their own parents' goggles. I mean, we can control parents. This is application for parents and coaches. Assistant coach is going to have official stats for the platform for the team. So that's what they're going to share with the recruits and colleges. Parents can create whatever they want inside of application. They can put all scores, all 5 stands for their kids.
So I'm kind of stuck on my experience with being a hardcore Little League / pony ball parent and having to do Game Changer all the time, which is sort of the standard right now for scoring and replaying stats. So how, and the experience as a scorekeeper is really tough and error prone, and you actually go through a lot of redos. When you call the play wrong, inevitably you're going to do that a bunch of times. How do you avoid that kind of situation in your platform?
Well, there are 2 answers. Well, first of all, we can avoid errors. And there is an easy interface for the parents or for coaches to fix the error. I mean, score is not that hard to figure out. I mean, statistic is a little bit harder. I mean, it's a judgment call. But the platform in real time will create that metadata overlay over the video, and at the end, I mean, this is a user experience that you want to create. So obviously there is a human factor in any application. There are scoreboards and score gaming control system. They are very complicated, and it's, we don't believe that that's feasible for the parents.
But the score, you have to pick a scorekeeper at the beginning of the game. So you do have somebody that's designated to be the official scorekeeper for that game. The potential comes in when parents start creating stats.
This is not a crowd scoring system. There is a sign. At the end, you get one camera or multiple camera for event, and you get one scorekeeper for the event.
Second question, I guess, is there a social media component baked into it, or like some kind of a network where you allow for different levels of following and subscription?
Yes. So, well, first of all, there are two parts of it. You can create public event that would be broadcast on mvpcast.tv or easily integrated to any media social platform. Literally, you can share the highlight, goal, score during the game, or you can share the whole video, or live data feed could be shared with the network or coaches. But you're also in control to make private events. So you invite people who you want to watch. We had experience on Periscope where some random people start to comment on the game, and that's not very appropriate for the youth sport.
And extreme levels of control for the content.
So there
owner.
are two parts of, it's a very controlled environment, or you can go public. If you want to promote your club, promote big game in the city, there is an easy way to push it out to social media.
You also have, is it COPA concerns possibly, depending on how young the kids are on the platform?
Well, the parents have to basically engage their kids, and then that kid's profile is private to the degree that they keep it private or they want to share it with others.
Yeah, and in terms of the recruitment, they're gonna create sharing profile and they're gonna share it, but that's gonna be parents-driven interaction.
For the official one camera, one scorekeeper per event or per match, do you have ideas for the future of doing multi-camera angles?
Yeah, the platform built for multiple cameras. Just to launch it on time, we kind of took a little bit of, cut the corner, and platform supports single camera at this point. But yeah, absolutely, we're gonna expand the cameras. It's still gonna be one scorekeeper. We don't want to create the crowd scoring.
Is a subscription based on the player persona to submit information, or to edit it and pull it out?
It's an account. So parents will create account, and the different level of account, different level of involvement in the system. There's free accounts where you just participate to watch. And if you want to use more functionality of the system, you just need to buy a next subscription.
All right, questions from the audience?
Well,
Actually, I have a question myself. As a parent, I'm curious. So, versus using YouTube Live or Facebook Live, competing technologies, do you feel that those would be a threat to your business model?
No, we actually think that that's helping the industry to take it to the next level. We taken those components and improving on them, and the all-in-one cloud platform will enhance user experience in the industry itself.
Okay. Other questions for Sergey and Dave? Please stand up and use the mic, please.
So I was wondering, let's say you're in a soccer tournament and the team just went to the finals, and you wanted to see your opponent that's playing, and you're trying to see how they pass the ball or what tactics they use. Can you, let's say the other parent on the other team is filming that, can you publicly view their game just to prepare your own team for that game?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what coaches doing now. They without MVP Cast, they will go and film the game. So we providing them technology to instantly share and absolutely. That's,
Mm.
yeah.
Thank you.
Did you have a question?
It occurs to me that you probably wouldn't want to reinvent the wheel with a video streaming back end, or that it would be more cost effective for you to partner with someone as opposed to and add your scoring and additional value add on top of that. Is that something you'd considered?
Well, that's how we build it. We build it on top of the WAVZA backend platform, and we're overlaying metadata and our metadata and technology on top of that.
So are you licensing someone else's technology, though, or how does
It's a WAVZA engine for live streaming that built in as a backend of this application. It's live streaming engine. Facebook probably built on the same WAVZA technology, or they're a live stream. It's just core components.
But that you consider that to be replaceable as you scale?
Well, yes and no. I mean, why would you break something that works great? I mean, if they're gonna continue to enhance the engine and engine is scalable, I mean.
How much scale have you tested?
Well, we have not tested to that level, but the backbone of Livestream platform, livestream.com, and they got a huge scale there. So we don't have that problem yet.
So is your concern that you'd have some limitation from the platform, or that you'd had some limitation in the business because of the restrictions on the platform?
Well, having experienced how fault-tolerant live streaming services can be at various grades of scale, which is not that fault-tolerant and very reliant on metadata and networking technology to ensure coherence of the experience. I can guarantee that there will be problems, and you need to have a strategy to address them.
Yeah, and the current where we stand on that, we build on AWS Elastic services, so we're going to scale with AWS and do auto provisioning of the backend servers, media servers. So again, that's a hardware scale, but works for now.
Dave and Sergey, thank you very much. MVP Casts.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to continue onward. We're going to have next ATK Technologies. Jorge Garcia is going to talk about the Alpha browser.
Hello.
Slides.
Oh, great. This is the button?
Yes, the play.
Okay, so lately, I think that right now, our generation of people, and maybe not even our generation, I don't know what our generation is, there's a lot of generations here, but I think that more than ever, we're aware of the consequences that, or not necessarily the consequences, but we're aware that every single action that we take online creates data about us. And so we know that it lives somewhere, mostly in a cloud, and we've been told that it's safe and secure. But recently we've seen major hacks and information getting poured into who knows where. And we're really realizing that our current system of managing this data isn't as effective as we once thought. So at Alpha Token, at ATK Technologies, we established a few major pain points, and we started working off of these to create a system that allows people to own and control the entirety of their digital assets, including the data that is coming off of it. And we're working with certain blockchain developers to give this place a home that's a little bit more accessible for everyone. All right, the pain points. We cannot be certain that we are experiencing data privacy. The recent Facebook scandal shows, as I just went over this, but another pain point for us was the lack of an ability to maintain control of the copyright of the content that we publish. We work hard to create this stuff, and a lot of the channels don't allow us to monetize exactly how we'd want to. And there's a bunch of people who have been getting kicked off or prohibited from monetizing on channels like YouTube, and we want to create a place that they can go to and better access or create a better opportunity for themselves to create some sort of wealth or at least income stream. So we built a few products. We decided to build an alternative content ecosystem that empowers creators and users with decentralized storage, distribution, and processing through the use of our public chain. ATK's products include the Alpha Browser, the Alpha Publisher, the ATK Wallet, and Alpha Token, which is currently an in-app utility token. The Alpha Browser ensures transparency into the methods for maintaining intellectual property and data, secure links for sharing content across multiple platforms, tokenized interactions with content, and is currently available on the Android and iOS mobile devices. Our CEO and founder, Wallace Lynch, is a professor. He's a PhD in economics, came out of Columbia University, and he couldn't be here today because he's out in Japan, but he came up with this idea that an entity using ICO to raise funds can afford to abandon profiteering from its customers or collaborators and focus solely on forging a perfect product and user experience. For the sustainability of the entity can rely entirely on the value appreciation of its token. So things that we provide for a few different people. For content providers, intellectual property is secured. Pricing is basically in their hands. They have the ability to control how much content is put out, and whenever their content is shared out of the browser or even within the browser, they get an increase in alpha value, which is a sort of social currency, if you will, and you can maintain passive income all the time, and it's a great way, it's a great step in the right direction, we believe. As a consumer, you can earn money watching ads, and you can save time without disturbing content. Not just that, but you can own all of your data. You can create a data profile and share it with whoever you'd like. Advertisers, there's no cost, and you can use tokenization to target certain people that you want to advertise to. So there's free distribution forever and direct connection to customers. This is the way the mechanism works. As you can see, it goes two different ways. You have the content producer and the content consumer at different levels earning from each other. Then we have a token sale that will be coming up. We've raised a little bit of money prior to the token sale, and we are currently working on this next step over the next few months. On January 1st, in January in 2018, we launched the initial MVP, and since then have developed into a new product that is much more functional. Our founder, he got the idea to do this because he was working on a sort of social equity app back in 2010, and he met Vitalik Buterin, who basically told him, like, why don't you build something on the Ethereum blockchain? And from there on, he took some time, came up with a formula for what this would look like, and here we are today. If you have any questions, you can contact our managing director in North America, Van Vey Fan. So thank you. And yeah.
Thanks very much, Jorge. 5 minutes for questions from our judge panel.
So sometimes content producers produce content that they want to pull out. Given that you put this on the blockchain, what would be the provision to erase content?
I mean, you could just erase content. You're basically creating a profile for yourself that you can manage at any time, so you can take it down whenever you wanted to. And not just that, but there's no limit to where else you could share it outside of our platform. We even created links that allow for protection of the content so that you can only view it through our platform. So you could share out a link, and it wouldn't show up anywhere else, like on World Wide Web, but it would show up when you click it. It'll take you directly back to our browser.
So even if you shared subsequent content to that, you can pull out a link in the chain?
You could pull out, you can set the content as invisible, and people wouldn't be allowed to see it anymore. And then you can publish it elsewhere.
So, quick question. What about advertisers? How do they? I mean, how do users, communicate with the advertisers? Is it the user says, "I want to pick and choose an advertiser," or does the advertiser get anonymized data? How does that flow work?
So it could work in a number of ways, but one way is that if I am an advertiser and I'm sharing content on a browser like ours, I'm going to maybe think about it. We're sort of going with this idea that advertisers aren't just trying to make ads anymore. They want to entertain people. And there has been a rise in experiential marketing, and that even takes the shape of a short 30-second story, right? So in that event, somebody's watching this ad, they get paid for it. We're hoping that more of this type of advertising would come out, and more story-based work rather than just like trying to pitch people really quickly. And every time that somebody watches one of these ads, there would be a finite number of tokens behind it, right? And the first maybe 100,000 people that watch it would be able to earn one of those tokens. It could be set at, I don't know, 10 cents or something. So then, rather than spending money on an ad that goes out and you get back in return a bunch of maybe clicks or impressions that we can't really, you can't really quantify, you actually get, the only way to actually earn a token by watching an ad is to watch it completely. So you know that at least if you had 100,000 tokens out there, 100,000 people definitely watched that piece of content.
So would that mean that the advertiser is basically, just capturing user information, or the user still decides what information I want to share with the advertiser?
Every user that creates an account on our profile, on our browser, creates their profile and they get to share whatever they want. At the moment, it's first and last name if they want to. They can also browse anonymously, and they can share an email address.
But advertisers want a lot of this data. Some of it is, kind of personal. How do you create that distinction? I know you said that advertisers want to make it more, friendly or more, but they also want the data, and sometimes that data can be, pretty personal. Where is that distinction? Where's the line that you draw between the two?
Well, I think that over time we're really starting to think about what kind of information we're going to start asking users for. So at the get-go, when you sign on, there's going to be questions that you can fill out. Whatever you leave blank is going to stay blank, but whatever you choose to put on there maybe gives you an increase in alpha value, which at the end of the day, you're going to be targeted maybe by more people that want to pay you to watch their stuff, right? So your personal feed could change at any given time.
So 2 quick questions. One is hate speech and any kind of offensive content. Do you have a plan for how to control that?
I mean, absolutely, right? I mean, this is a hard question to answer, because at the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to create this open place where anybody could publish, but at the same time, you don't want to create a place that's toxic and just filled with the worst things imaginable. So, I mean, at the moment, we're trying not to we haven't gotten any of that yet, but that is going to be a bridge that we're really going to have to cross once we get there. Really, there's going to be filters for stuff, and at the end of the day, I mean, I guess if there is enough people voting something to be kicked off, then it could be kicked off. Also, it's like, I don't,
Well, either, services have teams of people reviewing content that's been flagged, or they have AI, or they have both. I guess I'm trying to get at what's your plan related to choice of path.
So our plan related to choice of path, at the moment, we're trying to not have anybody that's doing anything like that on there. Even stuff that's questionable, we've reached out to people personally and asked them to take it down. Some people have been cooperative. We don't have 1 million users yet, so it's a little bit different. But once it starts really getting bigger, I think that it's like you're creating this space, and there's a couple other competitors out there, like Library and a few other people that are doing this thing that's very similar to what we're doing, and they're all sort of struggling with this right now. It's like, what do you do to maintain sort of a respectable place, or a place that's healthy for building good conversations and publishing good content out there without restricting people. I think that, I don't know exactly.
You gotta, yeah, it's a fine line you have to draw. A quick follow-up, I guess, is how would you convince someone to move their content library off of a service like YouTube? And what's the compelling choice that they would make, and how could they bring their audience with them?
So, I mean, the argument that we always use is, look, you know what? 5 cents, 10 cents is better than no cents. And there's a lot of people that have 30,000 followers on YouTube, but they still can't make a living off of it, right? So they're always looking for other channels to put their content out through. We're not telling anybody to ditch YouTube. We're not telling anybody to ditch these mainstream apps that are out there. What we're saying is incorporate this into your publishing. And when you're publishing, you can share, you can link out from our browser. So if you link out, people that click that link, if you share it on Twitter or any other mainstream channel, it will take you back to the browser directly to their content. So, you know, for us, if you're a content creator, keep publishing everywhere that you're publishing. Save a couple things for us if you want to have it exclusive to our browser. If not, you know, it's up to you. We're trying to leave as much choice up to the publisher as possible, you know? But there's still obviously some challenges that we're going to be facing.
Thanks so much, Jorge. Questions from the audience? Please stand up and use the mic.
I actually have done a similar project when I was taking courses at Marshall. I have a question about, so the token you're using, so I see your slides that you mentioned you want to aggregate those content into the token browser. So how you want to make sure those content are not fake, or particularly like at a political campaign, so maybe video can be fake.
Yes.
So how you want to address that, or given what kind of token to this kind of content producer? Or also in terms of, I see content can be, customers or users can be, like, are you giving token out like in terms of tiers, like platinum tokens or ladder tokens, so to differentiate those users?
At the moment, we're trying to create a space where users create their value through the work that they publish. I think that over time, like, we're imagining that it's going to work sort of like a free market where people are going to catch on, and if stuff's fake, it's fake, and, you know, the word's going to spread. We're hoping that it works out that way. Of course, this is a grand experiment, and at the end of the day, I don't have a specific answer for how to stop that, but we're working with a team out of a local university to sort of create a mechanism for detecting fake or reproductions that are unauthorized. And so maybe that's something that we're going to be trying to figure out over the next few months, actually.
Well, I appreciate your courage. It's very complicated and hard task, but it's all good for the society, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you.
A question here on the left.
Are you guys keeping your vision forward towards like all the volatility in the space, like hash graphs and tangles and new tokens and all of this, and scalability really in general being a big problem? Like, how do you guys tackle these kind of these emerging problems and the quick evolutions?
I mean, that's a really good question too. You know, it's something that, you know, towards the end of last year we saw token prices skyrocket, and then once the year began, we saw everything plummet, and we've seen things be really shaky over the last, you know, few months. And so our hope is that this token is actually respected and traded for content regularly, and if that happens, then maybe we can have something that is worth 10 cents, you know what I mean? And if we could have something that stays at 10 cents for a long time, I mean, you can have a pretty powerful product for monetizing content. Right now, a view on YouTube doesn't get you anything, but if you could get 10 cents per view on an app, I think that would be a huge jump in a good direction. So I don't think I answered your question correctly, but I try to give some sort of hope.
Thanks, Jorge. The future is blockchain. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, and then last we're going to have Addison from Autumn give us a talk on democratizing data that users provide and allowing users to control how that data is sold and used.
Great. We lost the clicker.
Yeah, we lost the clicker. All right, we need a tile to find it. Hold on.
Well, this is awkward. Thanks everyone for being here. I'll get started on the first couple slides because that'll be pretty straightforward, and we got the clicker. Awesome. So my name's Addison. I'm excited to talk to y'all about Autumn today. Autumn is a platform that empowers users to take control of their data and share in the value that that data creates. So this is probably pretty self-explanatory for the group here, but your data is valuable. When we look at how businesses value your data, it helps them refine their marketing strategies. That could mean saving money on how they're targeting and acquiring users and a variety of other ways. It also helps them improve their customer experience. So if you're a business and you can drive better retention or reduce churn, that can really dramatically improve your bottom line. Data also helps businesses increase their efficiencies. For an e-commerce platform, this might be knowing which items to have in stock, what content to create, and predict what your audience might be interested in the future. But you as the user, your data profile is scattered across all your different services and apps. So no one service is getting your full picture. So using Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon as an example, these services don't know what you watch on the other services, and they certainly don't know what you're watching at the theater or elsewhere in your daily life. So today, there's data brokers out there, and they're trying to fix this, but they're actually making the problem a little bit worse. Data brokers cobble together your data from third-party sources, bringing in things like your mortgage payments, your grocery receipts, and others, and they're trying to build this picture of you. But the problem is, most of these services, because they rely on third-party data, there's a lot of inaccuracies there. The best are maybe at 50% accuracy, and most of them are at 10 to 20% accuracy. So the result is not a picture of you. It's this Frankenstein image of you and merged with a few other users out there. But despite all those flaws, that industry made over $200 billion last year in the US. That's a lot of money spent inefficiently going after bad data, and that's what we're out to solve. Autumn believes we can solve this by giving you, the user, control of your data, and then incentivizing you to maintain that data profile, and the value will rise for everybody in this ecosystem. So, looking back at this example, we take your data from all your different services, in this case, and unite them into one single data profile. All those scattered, fragmented data that you have scattered across the web, it's now all under your control, seamlessly and easily. Behind the scenes, we do things to bring more value to your data set. So, we help structure and enrich that data, connecting it to trends within your own profile as well as trends within other users. And then we also normalize that data for interoperability. It's really critical to us that you know that you own your data, and that data should be able to travel, it should be portable and go from service to service just like you would. We also equip you for universal personalization right out the gate. So the Autumn product we have right now, as soon as you pull down your data, we're instantly giving you personalization across all your sources of choice, whether that's a streaming service or an EST service or on-demand content. Because of all this, Autumn creates this virtuous cycle for users and businesses. Businesses incentivize the users to improve and build out their data profile, which then feeds back into those businesses as the users share it with them and build more value for the businesses. Businesses incentivize the users more, users improve their profile, add more value, and the virtuous cycle continues and grows. For the user yourself, that value could come about in different ways. It could be a token that you earn that you can spend on digital goods. It could also be an experience, preview screening, early access to a trailer, or just general clout with your own audience following you and respecting your tastes. So your data is valuable, but on your own, the amount of value you can extract from that is not too large. The ceiling's kind of low. But together, all of our data is much more valuable. And that's where the Autumn Network comes into effect. We unite you with all the other users on our platform to provide businesses with a lot more additional and better data collectively. Look at a couple quick use cases. The first is kind of the data science use case, where businesses are going to be drawing insights out of the Autumn Network. They have access to this valuable first-party data. It's anonymized at the user level and pulls in, and they also
get that certified data that's available in real time. So when a movie releases in theaters, Audum users' data is reported back to the studios that subscribe right away. Or when a new trailer hits, studios get key metrics on that instantly. And the key piece of this is that users are sharing this data, they're sharing it willingly with their audience. Another use case is targeted offers and promotions, or direct marketing, where businesses are pushing offers out to the users. They have direct access to valuable segments of users and can promote things like new releases, new trailers, or get more people in the seats, or just sell a few more DVDs. There's high conversion rate that's been proven out through platforms like Earn.com, which saw about 20 to 30% open rate compared to the industry standard of 1 to 3%. And this type of targeted marketing also builds brand loyalty. The users get constant signals from you that you know them, and you know what they want, and you're offering them special discounts and deals, and that builds that loyalty. So what's next for Audum? Today, we're in private beta, onboarding new users to our platform. We've had some great response so far. We're testing and iterating on the core product. We're also running a few pilots with some business partners, working out the kinks and what that looks like for a business to sign on and extract that data and also push those promotions. We expect a full rollout next month, and we're also in the midst of our seed raise, so if there's anyone here that wants to talk about that, we would love to chat after. But if you have any interest in all this, please hit us up at team@audum.com. Look forward to making sense of your data. Thanks.
Thanks, Edison. Let's start with the judges.
All right. Given having seen the intellectual property side from video services of ownership of data, understanding of our customers' behaviors on site, but also the data science challenge of not having insights into what they're doing on other services. I can relate to the product that you're pitching, but I guess one of the conflicts I wasn't able to resolve was how do you convince the video services all to participate in this and allow for that sharing of data across services and not sort of remove their competitive advantage?
Sure, that's a great question. And what we look at specifically with Audum is really where the market's trending and that there's a greater and greater user acknowledgement that their data is valuable and they want to own and control that. We also see legal landscapes like GDPR and things that are empowering users to take control of that data and for businesses to facilitate that. Just 2 weeks ago, Google, Microsoft, Twitter, and Facebook announced a joint open source partnership for the data transfer platform, which specifically facilitates that, where you can, the example they use is you have Instagram and a new startup comes up with a image app. You can transfer all your data, essentially OAuth into it and transfer it in. So we see the market trending that direction. We definitely acknowledge that there's, and this is part of our pilots with these partners, that there are sensitivities around protecting your user data. But at the end of the day, we represent the users, and we believe that the users have access to some of those insights already. We're not going to know your clicks and everything else, and that we're just helping empower the users on that front, and the market will grow because of that virtuous cycle.
A quick follow-up, I guess, would be you mentioned sort of a metadata standard that you normalize everything into. Given that metadata is such a pernicious problem in the video industry, at least, and in music, how are you solving it?
Yeah, so a little bit of background. For the last 7 years, I've run a company called MediaHound, and we actually have already solved many of those. We pull in data from about 150 different media sources, normalize it, aggregate it, enrich it with about 4,500 traits, and essentially try to help video platforms catch up to the Netflixes of the world that have great discovery and personalization grounded by data. So we've solved a lot of those. It is a complicated problem. We have a team of 7 amazing engineers. Dustin over there can talk on the technical after. Raise your hand, Dustin. There he is. On how we accomplish that. But we essentially have a master data store inside of Neo4j and map every source to that. So a lot of other details there we can jump in after. We'd love to.
So I know you mentioned about incentivizing users to share the data. What's to prevent a user from sharing wrong data, just to make more money? How do you guys solve for that problem?
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time thinking about that, and like with any really loyalty program or anything that can be gamed, you have to have some amount of protections. So there's early benefits that don't cost anything we can provide the user. If you want to give us bad data, we'll give you bad recommendations back. But if you give us good data, we can give you those instant good recommendations. I don't know if anyone here has ever done a focus group. When you sign up for a focus group, you don't just sign up and say, this is my profile. They verify it, they look at your ID. There's a lot of steps there. So when you reach the point where we're say, sending you tens of dollars a month or maybe long-term down to hundreds of dollars per year, at that point, those users will have been certified, and that's a key piece of the platform that we want to present certified, valid users that are trusted, that companies that are licensing this data know whether this is a verified user or just one from a larger pool that maybe can't be as trusted.
As a follow-up question to that, is there going to be some sort of like data lineage exposed so users can track down where you sourced data that may not be correct?
Yeah, so the first thing that happens on the Autumn beta today is we pull down your data and we show you where it came from, and a lot of that's automated and acting on the user's behalf. And you have the opportunity then to go in and edit or remove or adjust. But at all times, you'll always see the trends of where it came from, when it was added, as well as when you say you've watched it. So we look at something like an IMDb list. You might go through and add 10 movies that you added months ago, that you watched months ago, but you're adding them today. So in that case, we're not going to trust the add date as your watch date. But there will be cycles that bring you in to build out that profile a little bit more so we know, did you see it when it premiered 10 years ago or last week?
I guess at what level do you have visibility into the data to aggregate it? Like, for example, so what you spoke about with Hulu, if naturally the user knows which movies they viewed, right? Like, are you then pulling that data out for Netflix to say, this person has these preferences on what movie types they are?
You're saying in terms of will Netflix have access to the granularity of exactly when they watch this on Hulu or those services?
Sure, yeah.
That would be something in the agreements with the companies long term. So in Hulu's case, I'm sure there would be, what we would like is for that all to be happening in the background in seamless sync with the services. And there would be protections in place for some of Hulu's core IP, but as the user, your actual watch history and what source you watched is your data, and that's something you could build out yourself. So as much as companies want us to help have an accurate data store, we want to work with them on that. From the user perspective, they should be able to share their core data that's not critical IP to these companies.
All right, we're going to move on to audience questions. Actually, I have a question to start. So coming from the social media space, Snapchat, I'm really interested in your product. Have you thought about guarantees back to the user in terms of data protection and data privacy? This is super paramount, and data pseudonymization and GDPR schemes have really put a lot more focus on this. So what are your rough plans for that space?
Yeah, so Autumn is rolling out in stages. So there's goals long-term, and then there's short-term protections we're putting in place. The plan for your Autumn wallet is there will be a cloud-hosted solution that allows you to pull down your data and us to act on your behalf. So you might set an autoresponder that someone's looking for this type of data, you match the profile, and you want to earn that dollar, and it happens passively. You might prefer not to have any of your data shared with political organizations, and in that case, you would not be a fit there. But Autumn's built on a peer-to-peer network that allows you as a user to host your own node and have your own wallet there and handle that traffic. So we act as a consumer-first data broker of sorts, and when you're using us, we earn money on commission. If we make you money, we earn money. But if you wanted to host your whole data wallet, use our services to pull all your data in, and then have your own node there, you could act as your own broker. You just don't have the benefit of necessarily all the other users on the platform. So it would be a little bit harder, but you do have full control over that. And then the last piece is there's pushing offers to users, and there's pulling user data out. We want to make it as easy for people to target users and draw out insights as it is to advertise on like Facebook. They have a great platform, target demographics, and dive into there. But we want to have, so you should be able to go in and spend $10 for your indie film and get a couple views on your trailer, or spend $100,000 on the platform and target millions of users. But the companies that are going to be looking at your data, pulling data out, they'll go through a much higher vetting process. Anything pushed out will have a little bit lower bar. So there will be agreements in place and things where they're not allowed to cache the data, and then we'll assist you if you want to push, delete, have these companies delete my data. That'll be part of our pipeline.
I think it's super important, particularly with the Facebook scenario, where advocacy on the user's behalf should be part of the platform. It shouldn't be something that we hope the user does properly. There should be a concerted effort put forward to help the user manage this. Because I think Facebook learned the hard way that we can't just let it play itself out. Otherwise, bad things will happen.
Yeah.
All right, audience questions. All right. Please come to the mic.
So we all know that GDPR in Europe shows so many this kind of business have been affected, or even say shutting down from in Europe. My question is, how you want to make sure you can sustain your business in terms of like one day you want to expand your business into Europe market, or maybe in the near future, US will also have like GDPR US law. So I like your idea, really with a hope that you can sustain the business. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. That's great. The key aspect of Autumn is we're acting on you, the user's behalf. And so we actually have the benefit of building this from the ground up with GDPR in mind. So sometimes those types of restrictions can be pretty beneficial in helping serve as guidelines. We expect that to evolve a little bit. We expect there to be some changes and hiccups along the way. But at our core, we do believe in some of the principles laid out, most of the principles in GDPR, and that users should have control of this data. And something as simple as one click delete my profile will be a piece of our platform. So, and then the data, transferability from service to service as well. We believe we'll build the best platform to help monetize your data. If we build a great wallet system and someone else builds a better platform there, you're going to have the ability to migrate your data there and start earning revenue from their service.
Are you imagining the primary source of revenue to be overlap with existing organizations trying to identify their users further or get more information, or generating new leads out of the data?
What was that second part? Sorry.
To generate new leads.
New leads. Okay.
Basically out of the data.
So the two methods I laid out, one is more pushing out promotions and generating new leads or targeting specific demographics. So we're talking with, in talks with one studio that's looking at 1% Facebook conversion on EST sales. And with them, there's a specific movie coming out. It has a demographic. It's very clear in our data set who would be inclined to purchase that. And so being able to promote that title to them, potentially with a little bit of discount so the user sees like, oh, I'm getting a special deal and I'm being promoted here.
What time is that?
Sorry? I didn't hit it. So that would be a new lead and a new opportunity there. On the, sorry, what was that first part? So when you're reading the data out, that's more of a license fee. So if you think about your metadata subscription services that as a studio you're already licensing, Gracenote, Rovi, Nielsen, everything along that gamut, you would have access to this portal to pull out and it'd be a per seat charge or depending on your company's size. And in that case, we're sharing any data you pull out, we're tracking which user's data that is, and we're sharing % of the revenue we earn on the licensing fee with you. So on one part, we're earning on commission for you, and then on the other, we're sharing our revenue with the users.
All right, and Autumn, thank you very much for the presentation. All right, so the judges are actually going to deliberate for a couple hours, and we'll make announcements at the 6:15 networking reception of the winners.
So before we let the judges go, we're going to just want to thank the judges a lot for coming. So Priyanka, can you come out if you don't mind, if you're in the back? All right. So we're going to give a judge's certificate. So if you don't mind, judge, please come here. We're going to take some pictures and give you a certificate as well as a short glass. And so I want to thank you for presenting. Yeah. So we're going to start with Austin. So thank you, Austin, for coming and for participating in this. Thank you. Paul? Thank you, Paul. Harwell? Thank you.
Thank you.
Levon? Thank you, Levon. Jeff? Finally, Train. Thank you guys for coming. So we're going to deliberate for about 30 minutes or so. The judges will go in the back. We're going to have the panel starting in about 10-15 minutes. So they're going to reset the stage. So please feel free to be stick around. And we'll probably start back in another. So about 4:15 we'll probably start with the panel. Thanks guys once again for coming.
Thank you. Jason mentioned something about me also.
Yeah.
So Rich is going to MC. Priyanka's going to take a point. Priyanka's going to... About an hour and a half.
It's going to be the social hour at 6:15.
Is that here?
It's in a different location.
Okay.